Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do the April horoscope themes, and there's a lot going on this month. It's quite crazy and very fiery and passionate, and it's been a month that I've had on my radar for about the past 3 years, so it's quite interesting. So April 1st, we have a full moon in Libra. This is a full moon that is not particularly nice in my opinion. It is associated with the Three of Swords in tarot, which is breakup energy and parting is sweet sorrow, you know. It's in a second decan of Libra at 12 degrees associated with Saturn. So therefore it's very restrictive. Saturn's going to be opposite the moon. So that is going to really stamp things out of your life and say there is a boundary that needs to be put in place here and something that needs to exit my life. So that already starts April off being like, oh, we know this is going to be quite a cutthroat month. April 9th, Mars enters Aries in the second house. This is a domicile placement or at-home placement. Mars is the warrior planet, right? And Aries is the warrior. So coming together, it's a great time to take action and really fight for yourself. What is going to cause a problem here is, though, of course, we've got this Israel-Iran US war that's going on. And Mars in Aries doesn't particularly help when there's a lot of warrior energy. And it will not help when we have Mars conjunct Saturn in Aries. So I think we need to prepare for a little bit more escalation there. I don't think we have to be too worried right now because I'm looking at astrology for the whole year. But there is definitely an element where I'm like, damn, this brings confidence and enthusiasm. I'm really going after goals, but it doesn't help, the conflict at the moment in the world. It definitely adds fuel to the fire, quite literally. April 12th, we have Mars in Aries conjunct Neptune in Aries in the second house. This is very enthusiastic for giving you a boost in energy to help you chase your dreams. So like I said, it's not always the worst thing in the world, Mars being in Aries here. And it is a good day for relationships and whatnot. But at the same time, it's quite egoic, it's quite arrogant. And it definitely, when it comes to sort of political conflict, it's definitely one of those energies that says we're getting a bit too big for our boots. Neptune is a outer planet of collective consciousness, so that will sort of affect some of the external things going on with this war at the moment. And of course, Mars being in Aries adds a bit of fuel to the fire to say, I've got a bigger dick than I think I do, and actually that might not be a good thing. And of course, what political leader do we know that seems to talk a lot like that? Just saying. April 14th, Mercury enters Aries. So I actually really like this transit. Some people don't. I personally do, because I think it gives you the confidence to knock down an office door and say, I'm the one. It is very confident. It's very bold. It has conviction and passion, and it kind of says what needs to be said. So it's like, I'm going to dare to say it. But the problem is it's very impulsive. So when you're doing work in your career, make sure that you're not going too fast and too impulsive, that you're not looking over the details and making sure that you've completely bulldozed it. But also it can be so impulsive that it comes across really angry. So you can just be like, you're irritating me, get out of my space. And it's like, I haven't even done anything. Like, you know, when you go on holiday with a friend or something, it's like really hot and you're like, I don't care. And you're like, why are you getting angry at me? I'm like, I'm not, it's just hot. I'm just hot, right? I'm overwhelmed, I'm hot. That's what Mercury in Aries is like. April 17th is the biggie. This is the new moon in Aries, culminating with this massive Aries stellium. My goodness me. This is the stellium that I've looked at for the past 3 years and thought, oh my God, what does it mean? It's the first new moon of the astrological new year. It is a new moon. It's filled with new beginnings and excitement and power and confidence. And I'm going to rage and go after my goals. And like, I'm going to succeed. I'm going to win. You know that meme of Edna in the originals when she's like, conquer, win. That is it. That is it. But let's look at how it's configured for the world. We've got Saturn in the mix there, Chiron, Neptune, Mars, the Sun, everything. That's kind of nasty. Uranus and Taurus. Yeah. It kind of looks like mobilizing of armies to me, or some kind of military issue. I don't want to scare anyone, but yeah. Watch this space. I will do updates as we get closer to this time, but I would not be surprised around April 15th to the 20th, we've got escalation of this conflict right now going on in the world. April 19th, we have the Sun entering Taurus, so spring's in full bloom here because Taurus is a fixed sign, which means it really fixes us to a season. So we're very much in spring now. We're not even in transition. We are in spring. This is a very stable and steady sign, which I think is really great. And it's a very luxurious sign ruled by Venus. So the energy is very, resourceful. It's a little bit sort of lethargic, but Venus will be in Taurus as well. So that adds, the small sensualities in life. And of course, amidst all this Aries energy, it could be quite nice to just sit back and relax a little bit because, for a lot of us, Aries included, you're going to have a fire up your arse. So I think it's quite nice to say, maybe I just want to rest and relax, 7 p.m. onwards. April 23rd is the biggie for me. I'm really excited about this transit because we will not get it again in our lifetime because we're going to be too old. So Venus and Taurus is conjunct Uranus and Taurus. So this is when there's a chance encounter. I can't obviously, guarantee this, so don't take my words at face value here, but it's very much like a windfall, something unexpected, a chance encounter, windfall of money, an investment that really pays off, something that makes you very happy. Uranus and Taurus on that last stage is trying to get you out your comfort zone. So it's going to say, I want a happy change for the better. I'm going to push out of this boundary, right? It's going to move away from that Saturn ruled decan and be like, boom, I'm coming out. And of course, Venus is a benefic, so it's trying to bring you something wonderful. And I often think actually with Uranus, which is so unexpected, that when it's coupled with something like Jupiter or Venus, that's when you're like, bam, I'm getting something really exciting and nice. We actually had a shot of this last year, but we're getting it again this year. And one thing I will say is use this, right? As much as it gives luck falls onto our lap, make it more lucky. Go out and try something. I don't want to say play the lottery because then someone will play the lottery and say you didn't win and it's your fault and then they'll try and sue me. But ultimately, it does definitely give get out your comfort zone energy. So do something that's fun and that is a little bit more, spontaneous. Again, even manifest during this time because it's very much like, interesting. On the same day, and actually later in the day, Venus moves into Gemini. So Venus and Gemini is what everyone thinks Venus and Sagittarius is. It's very much the talking stage of a romance. It's like the slow burn, and then we're really going out there. Very much gives spring fling energy. This is when conversations are exciting, they're intellectually stimulating, but it's very flighty. It's kind of hard to stick and commit during this time. And it's quite interesting because I don't think it's a coincidence that you got Venus and Taurus conjunct Uranus and Taurus, and then quite literally later that day you got Venus going into Gemini, which is very much the, flirtation energy, because Gemini, of course, is ruled by Mercury, which is like shock communication, something happening, getting a weird letter in the mail and saying, It's very strange, and I think it's like, I think it should be used for flirtation and for the flirty, flighty energy rather than being stubborn. I think I'm trying to choose my words carefully here because I'm like, do I really want to tell people to be like flirty and fun, like not sticking to one person? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just kind of saying that there is a chance encounter energy here that I would be using if I were you. And then finally, we have the biggie of all biggies, April 25th, Uranus enters Gemini. Why is this important? Because Uranus enters a sign every 7 years. So that means that we're going to have this for 7 years. We had this briefly last year, actually, during the summer. So this is not the first time we've had it. We had a little glimpse, a little taster. So Uranus does a lot better in Gemini because Uranus is an upper octave of Mercury, meaning that the unpredictable, shocking, fast nature of Uranus adapts to Gemini because it's ruled by Mercury. So that means it can come together. This is an external planet. So it brings external volatility. And as much as I say we've got free will, it doesn't really give us a lot of choice in the matter. So when it's in Gemini, that's going to be an intense element of freedom and originality here. And also it's an era of very big ideas, AI evolution, technology, information dissemination, changing your mind, a revolution of power and technology, a real revamp with the way you use social media and social media apps. So people who have been talking about this particular app not being available in the next couple of years can see the writing on the wall because there are big changes here. This, of course, is going to impact Gemini rising the most because it's in your first house. It will also impact Sagittarius rising in your 7th house, the need for freedom already, and you're already a Sag. But of course, the other mutable signs as well. So Pisces and Virgo in your 10th house of career, and Pisces in your 4th house of home and family. It's obviously going to affect everybody, but particularly those mutable signs. So this is going to give Taurus and the fixed signs, so that's Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio, a break. But of course, Uranus being in Gemini is going to really give us an era of uncertainty and change. One thing I will also say as well is that this is a change in the way that we adapt to travel, because Uranus deals with aviation, so planes, and Gemini rules the third house of short trips and transport vehicles and whatnot. So that's a adaptation to engineering, so things like electric vehicles, and we're already seeing it in popular motorsport where they're trying to adapt to regulations that allow us to be more sustainable for the environment. So lots of things are changing here. I will do a separate video on this, if I haven't already done a separate video on this actually. I think I have actually, I've already done a video on this. I think it was called Rise of the Tech Overlords, about Uranus and Gemini, and you can watch that because it shows you how your rising sign will be affected. So that's the rundown for April, just for the main events. The main characters, in my opinion, of course, are Aries, and that's because of Mars and Mercury entering their sign alongside the new moon in a big Aries stellium. You'll also have a Libra full moon at the start of the month in your 7th house of committed relationships. Taurus is going to be a main character because Venus is in your sign, but you also have this Venus conjunct Uranus aspect and the Sun in Taurus too. So that will be quite beneficial for you. And then my sort of third main character would be Gemini, but only really towards the end of the month, and that's because of Venus being in Gemini and Uranus being in Gemini. So it's going to be quite a pivotal month. It's not something to be scared of. It's going to put a rocket launcher up our asses, which I think is really good for projects and going for it. May is going to be even more speedy, especially with a Mercury Uranus conjunction, which is like, damn, run a marathon, you know? So this is going to be quite fascinating and interesting. Remember that astrology is used for strategic advantage. It's not something that you wait for. I get a lot of comments that say, well, you said January, February, and I'm still waiting. The key point is you just said you're still waiting. You got to take life by the balls, all right? Astrology is for strategy. And when you understand astrology and you use it, that's when you can become the most happiest, fulfilled, richest version of yourself, rather than saying, oh, I've been waiting all year for this luck to come. Waiting and hoping on a prayer then, beloved. You know, I'm not trying to be nasty in that way. I'm just saying, like, we got to make life what it is. If you've got a dream life in your mind, you've got to use astrology to go for it. So I'm saying, well, April, we've got all this Aries energy. So that's actually really helpful. Even if you're, for example, a Taurus rising and you've got it all in your 12th house, you can still use it for manifestation. You know, even if it's going to be diluted and it's not as active, you can still use it. You just have to learn how to. So I think that there's always pockets of time. Anyway, I'm trying to cover my arse here, but it's not a bad month. It's just very passionate and very fiery. Maybe I'm all right with that because I'm a Sag. You know, I've got big bi-stellium. So maybe I'm like, and Aries is one of my favourite zodiac signs, as you know. So maybe I'm just like, it's not too bad. Some of you might be absolute shit scared of it, but there's nothing to be scared of. Become fear. Nothing to fear but fear itself. You become fear, then you can conquer fear. Especially if you're Virgo rising. Conquer fear. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on and I'll see you for the next video. Bye.